Okay, Nehemiah chapter 6 is what we get to talk about today. So, a little bit more challenges he's getting from these enemies of Jerusalem. We're going to learn a lot about Sanballat, in fact. So, he just, we've heard about him before. Just a bit of clarification, he is the governor of Samaria. So, remember, Samaria is the former capital of the northern kingdom, or up in that area, basically. These are people who were moved in by Assyria, who kind of intermingled with Jews. So there were some Jews living among them, some intermarried areas, but there wasn't fully Jewish area. So it's kind of gone away from Judaism for the most part, but they are they're not happy the Jews are back, and he sees this as a problem, like we've seen back in chapter 4. So we can learn more about Sanballat today. So, verse 1, now it came to pass when Sanballat and Tobiah and Geshem the Arabian and the rest of our enemies heard that I had builded the wall and that there was no breach left therein, though at that time I had not set up the doors upon the gates, that Sanballat and Geshem sent unto me, saying, Come, let us meet together in some one of the villages in the plain of Ono. But they thought to do me mischief. So they realized, okay, so the wall got built, and if I remember right, the wall was like 52 days. The wall was built, so about a month and a half of our reckoning to build the wall. And like we've talked about in the past, this wall is a very symbolic thing. It's literal, of course. It's literally a wall which keeps the wild animals out and keeps invading armies out. So it makes it harder to steal from the Jews because now they've got security. They're going to build a wall. There's towers on the wall where the guards can watch for invading armies and people coming at them. It means they don't have to rely as much on the people. The wall will provide a natural defense for them, basically. Of course, they haven't set up the gates yet, and so those are the pinch points. Those are the areas that are the vulnerable spots. Um, but the wall offers a lot more protection, which means it's going to be harder to deal with the Jews because they have an establishment. And that also means with that establishment that the Jews are established. They're not a wandering people. They're not just a has-been people. They have a more legitimate claim and opportunity because this wall around their city establishes them. So in Samaria and the Ammonites and the other groups don't want that to be there because they want that land for themselves. They don't want the Jews to have that establishment. They've probably gotten accustomed to the idea of Jews being prisoners of Babylon, being exiles, being just a poor people that have no direction or focus. Now they're getting direction and focus, which means they can grow and expand and improve. And historically, that bodes well for these groups around them, because these groups around them oftentimes get destroyed or wiped out as Judah gains power and ability. So they're trying to convince, they've sent a message into Nehemiah to say, hey, come out and talk with us. Let's come out here and meet in this valley and let's do some negotiations. Let's talk about this. But like I said in verse 2, there's an ulterior motive to this. So verse 3, and I sent messengers unto them, saying, I am doing a great work, so that I cannot come down. Why should the work cease whilst I leave and come down to you? So that's Nehemiah's way out, going, I'm too busy to come to see you guys. I'm too busy. I can't come. Verse 3, and let's see, sorry, I just read that one. Verse 4, and yet they sent unto me 4 times after this sort, and I answered them after the same manner. Then sent Sanballat his servant unto me in like manner the 5th time with an open letter in his hand, wherein was written, It is reported among the heathen, and Gashmu saith it, that thou and the Jews think to rebel. For which cause thou buildest the wall, that thou mayest be their king according to these words. So here, this is a different correspondence, all right? I want to point this out. So they've been sending messengers from the 3 kings to say, let's get together and negotiate stuff out. And Nehemiah's like, nope, sorry, I don't have time to meet. I'm too busy. They did that 4 times. Obviously, that wasn't working. So now they're going to change strategy. So Sanballat sent his servant, not just a messenger, his personal servant. And it says here that it was an open letter in his hand. Now, oftentimes correspondence were closed and usually sealed with that little wax that we sometimes see where they press their ring into it or whatever. That sealed it so no one else could read it. This is an open letter, basically. So this is a different kind of correspondence. And what it is, basically, is it is a report. And they've got this person, Gashmu, that is claiming it. That this letter is claiming that the Jews are preparing to revolt against Persia, like they did against Babylon. So they're going to revolt here. Verse 7, and thou hast also appointed prophets to preach of thee at Jerusalem, saying, there is a king in Judah, and now shall it be reported to the king according to these words. Come now, therefore, let us take counsel together. So they're claiming Jerusalem is being reestablished. Nehemiah is basically going to appoint himself a king, and there's prophets, and so they have God behind them, and they're going to kick Persia to the side, basically, and take all this land and this ability from Persia away. They're going to revolt from Persia. So this is a letter claiming that this is what's happening, and they're probably going to be threatening this to send this to King Artaxerxes to stir Artaxerxes up against the Jews. So let's see, verse 8, then I sent unto him, saying, there are no such things done as thou sayest, but thou feignest them out of thine own heart. So that's Nehemiah going, look, you're just trying to scare us by saying, oh, look, we have this message we've heard that you guys are planning a revolt, so we might want to be telling the king Artaxerxes about this, because he's not going to like that, and he's going to get mad, and he's going to want to destroy you. And so they're threatening the Jews, basically, threatening Nehemiah and the people. Verse 9, for they all made us afraid, saying, their hands shall be weakened from the work, that it be not done. Now therefore, O God, strengthen my hands. Afterward I came unto the house of Shemaiah, the son of Deliah, the son of Mehetabel, who was shut up. And he said, let us meet together in the house of God within the temple, and let us shut the doors of the temple. For they will come to slay thee, yea, in the night they will come to slay thee. So Nehemiah is pushed back against this whole plan, going, nope, that's false, baloney, there's nothing like that happening here. You guys are just trying to scare us. And so now they're worried that they're going to send a coup, a little small insurgent group to try to go in and assassinate Nehemiah. So now they're saying, let's protect you, let's move you into the temple and shut the doors to provide security for you, basically. And he says here, verse 11, and I said, should such a man as I flee? And who is there that, being as I am, should go into the temple to save his life? I will not go in. And lo, I perceived that God had not sent him, but that he pronounced his prophecy against me, for Tobiah and Sanballat had hired him. So he's saying, why should I go? Why should I be afraid? If they're going to come fight, if they're going to try to come after me, bring it on. I'm okay. I'm not worried about them. I'm more worried about the work that God has for me to do. And so long as I am doing the work that God has, he will protect me. That's probably what he's been telling the people. And he says in there, I perceived this. Could that mean that Nehemiah has some closeness with God, and maybe the Spirit, he's got a little bit of gift of discernment in there with that Spirit? Very possible. And he realized that, oh, this servant isn't just a random person going, I found this letter, I discovered this information that they're preparing to send to the king. He realizes it was a setup. And so that's why he ignored it and wouldn't deal with it. Verse 13, therefore was he hired that I should be afraid and do so and sin, that they might have matter for an evil report, that they might reproach me. My God, think thou upon Tobiah and Sanballat according to these their works, and on the prophetess Noadiah and the rest of the prophets that would have put me in fear. So this is really interesting, because this is the first time we've heard of prophetess and prophets, plural. Prophetess one, prophets plural. So this woman and these men who are also planning against Nehemiah, they might be the ones that are the prophetess and prophets of the gods of Samaria and the Ammonites and others. So, and they're preaching against the Jews. Verse 15, so the wall was finished in the 25th day of the month Elul in 52 days. So 52 days, I was right. And it came to pass that when all our enemies heard thereof, and all the heathen that were about saw these things, they were much cast down in their eyes, for they perceived that this work was wrought of our God. Moreover, in those days the nobles of Judah sent many letters unto Tobiah, and the letters of Tobiah came unto them. For there were many in Judah sworn unto him because he was the son-in-law of Shechaniah, the son of Arah, and his son Johanan had taken the daughter of Meshullam, the son of Berechiah. So, verse 19, let me finish this up. And it says, also they reported his good deeds before me and uttered my words to him, and Tobiah sent letters to put me in fear. So there's kind of a back channel going on through the nobles for Nehemiah and Tobiah, at least, that was going on in here. So it's crazy. I mean, he's obviously a pretty good ruler. I mean, I'd love to hear in the comments, what do you think of Nehemiah as a ruler? He's not taking taxes for himself. He's not living off the people. He's living off his own efforts. He refuses to back down from his enemies, and he's willing to stay with his people and work with them and fight with them. So, good leadership. I'd love to hear in the comments what your thoughts are if this was a leader. Would you follow this kind of leader in today's world, or would you feel that this is not so much compare him to today's leaders, because I don't think there really is a good comparison, honestly. But if you were part of a group of people in the ancient world and had a leader like this, would you feel better about that person as your leader as well? So we look forward to reading those in the comments, and then we'll see you in the next chapter as we continue the story.